Welcome to your Smart Market Reports for Friday, May 9th, 2025. Here's everything you need to know before heading into the weekend. Today, U.S. stock markets closed with a mixed performance. The S&P 500 slipped slightly, ending the day at 5,659 and breaking a two-week winning streak. The Dow Jones Industrial Average also finished lower, down nearly 30 basis points at 41,249. Meanwhile, the Nasdaq held steady, closing virtually flat at 17,928. Overall sentiment was cautious as investors watched global headlines and awaited new inflation data next week. In the spotlight, Apple stock ended the session at $198.53, gaining just over 0.5% on the day. However, Apple remains down 24% year-to-date, as analysts continue debating its valuation after recent earnings. Tesla delivered a much stronger performance, climbing more than 7% to close at $305.24, extending a recent rally fueled by optimism around EV demand and production updates. In the world of crypto, Bitcoin pushed higher, trading just under $103,000, up nearly 2% on the day and drawing closer to its all-time high. Ethereum showed even greater strength, surging 6.5% to around $2,340. Analysts point to institutional flows and rising demand for crypto ETFs as key drivers of this week's bullish momentum. Now shifting to economic indicators, the labor market continues to show resilience. Weekly jobless claims dropped by 13,000 to 228,000, suggesting layoffs remain low. The national unemployment rate held steady at 4.2% in April. Meanwhile, the Consumer Price Index stands at 2.4% annually as of March. April's CPI figures are expected early next week and could influence Fed sentiment. Speaking of the Federal Reserve, the central bank held rates unchanged this week, maintaining the target range at 4.25 to 4.5%. The Fed cited continued economic strength, but acknowledged elevated uncertainty. No minutes were released today, but investors will be closely watching for further commentary ahead of the June meeting. Here are the top 3 stories shaping the markets today. First, market sentiment turned cautious as investors await key developments in the upcoming U.S.-China trade talks, which could have broad economic implications. Second, Bitcoin broke through the $100,000 mark for the first time this week, a historic milestone that's drawn fresh attention from institutional investors. And third, Apple continues to struggle in 2025, down nearly a quarter year-to-date, prompting fresh debate over whether the tech giant is undervalued or facing long-term headwinds. And finally, from the White House, President Trump signed an executive order today launching Project Homecoming, a new immigration initiative encouraging voluntary departures for undocumented immigrants. While this may not move the markets directly, it could influence sentiment around future labor policies. That wraps up today's financial briefing. Markets are entering the weekend with a cautious tone, crypto remains hot, and all eyes now turn to next week's inflation data. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you Monday.